age 3, he became Crown Prince of Bavaria. From then on, he started to be addressed as Royal Highness, and people would bow to him when he was in their presence. Ludwig believed that he was better than everyone else and that he had to come first. His parents were not fond of each other, and they distanced themselves from their sons, Ludwig and Otto. His relationship with his parents was very awkward, so he grew up isolated and alone. As a child, the only person he was ever close to was his governess, Sylvie Melodus, but she was replaced when Ludwig was 9. His lonely style of living left his imagination to run wild. He would even daydream to help escape reality. It is said that after he watched a man fall from a steep rock and get seriously injured, that he had mild hallucinations and heard imaginary voices. He became king at age 18 after his father died unexpectedly. When Ludwig was 20, Bavaria suffered a devastating loss to Prussia. This caused him to retreat into himself even farther. Ludwig became obsessed with the operas of Richard Wagner. He began to live in fantasy worlds that existed in Wagner's operas. At age 30, he began to sleep during the day and live in his imagination at night. He also became obsessed with castles. The most famous castle he had built was the Neuschwanstein Castle. This castle was built as a theater for Wagner. The Linderhof Castle was built for a single person so it could be used as refuge from the rest of the world. He built the Herrenchiemsee Castle as an attempt to recreate the Palace of Versailles.
So, who's in charge? Ludwig II took the throne at 18. He was shy and ill-equipped to run the country. Ludwig never married and never had any children. Who ought to be in charge? Who ought to be in charge in Bavaria? Bavaria is the country that is pale green in the middle of Germany. Ludwig II's cabinet should have taken over. They always encouraged him to stop his crazy spending and to settle down and rule the country. The cabinet kept foreign dignitaries off Ludwig's back. They kept him from racking up too much debt, and they made sure the country was running smoothly. Ludwig's uncle was a good candidate for being king. He later took over for his younger brother Otto, who was also insane. How well are those in charge doing? Although Germany had just been unified as a country, Bavaria was not largely affected. Ludwig was not interested in running the country, though. He was extremely introverted and didn't know what to do in government. Ludwig was too interested in the arts, operas, and architecture to care about his country. Unlike other leaders, he didn't host social gatherings. His gross expenditures is probably what caused his death.
The government was outraged by his financial debt and irresponsibility. They needed to get rid of him and his overspending. But how? To get rid of Ludwig, the government had a psychiatrist, Bernhard von Guden, to diagnose him with paranoia. It was one day after Ludwig was declared legally insane by the government that both him and his psychiatrist's bodies were found in Lake Starnberg. His death was officially ruled as an act of suicide. However, a new theory about his death started to emerge. That theory was that it was not an act of suicide, but it was an act of murder planned by the government to get rid of him from the throne. After Ludwig's tragic death, his younger brother Otto took the throne. He was crowned king, however he turned the title over to his uncle because he too was insane.
Mad Ludwig's country was not affected by his gross expenditures on his castles. He mainly used his personal income to finance his castles. The Swan King may not have been insane, but living in his fantasy world ultimately cost him his life. No one ever found out the psychiatrist's diagnosis. Maybe he was insane, but the world may never know.
Thank you.